Morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain? Today's one of the funniest days you're ever going to experience. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to enjoy it. We got to wait for the old YouTube folks to come in. My coffee today is a little cold. This is not a fresh cup. We are doing today's show with a little bit of what's left over, not a full one. There's enough. There's a sip for our enjoyment. Good morning, and PV Breakup team. Indeed, good morning. Indeed, good morning. Good morning, team. Good morning, Ben. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, Ben. Oh, looks like the YouTube's coming in. I have YouTube comments, but it says there's only one viewer on YouTube, which is obviously not real. But that's okay. It'll get taken care of. There we go. Edwin, morning crew. Sup, Nolan? What's up, Edwin? Hope you're doing well. Bitcoin Deb, good morning. Accelerate. You're going to be going there's going to be so much acceleration today. You're going to be like caught in a wind tunnel. Your hair's going to be back today. Good morning from Flat, Saskatchewan. Thank you, Dale. I've only been to Saskatchewan once, and it was on a train. I took the train to the Olympics. And it was way more beautiful than I had been anticipating. I'm a mountain man, so I wasn't expecting much when I got to the flatlands, but I was pleasantly surprised about how beautiful it was. Nick, any messages on the bottom of the mug today? No, Nick. This is a plain old IKEA cup, unfortunately. We were a little... The sickness is sort of spreading in the home, so not everyone's better. There was a little of... a little fly-by-night stuff going on this morning, making it up. Good morning, Nolan. Fresh coffee, a must every morning. Yeah, this is my second cup, though, so I'm okay. Good morning. Usually when you see me, I'm on cup 3, 4, maybe. It's possible. I don't really limit my coffee until the afternoon. I can go and I can have a coffee till like 2, let's say, 3. That's my limit. Usually I'll have gone out. I usually stop coffees by noon, not out of like this doesn't take discipline. I just stop craving it so much. If I need one in the afternoon, I'll definitely take it. Good morning, sunshine. Good morning, playa, space boy. Hope you're doing well. Elections need paper and blockchains. I don't know about blockchains, but they certainly need paper. Good morning from Heartland. Imagine elections need paper, money doesn't. Isn't that funny? Good morning, Breakup Gang. Indeed. Christine, good morning. I'm glad you're here, Christine. Thanks for making it. Good morning. Sun is up and enjoying my El Salvadorian coffee. Isn't it the best, Lightning Vend? I mean, it really is something. At Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville, they had a El Salvadorian coffee kiosk or whatever. There was one, if you were there or if you weren't, here's the info. There was one near the live desk, and it just did iced coffee. It was very good. There was the robot coffee maker at the show in Nashville was the big highlight. Everyone loved. There were these 2 robot arms making coffees. Pretty good job. I would definitely get a robot coffee thing. When these robots are for sale, I'm not hesitating. I'm getting a robot instantly, because one of the things, who doesn't want a robot to make them their coffee in the morning? Like, who doesn't want that? It's great. I have the Japanese pour over. I love making coffee. I simplified it. I don't mess around with espresso machines. I go out and buy that because I understand what it takes. But a robot could do what it takes to have espresso in your house. I can't deal with the calibration of the machine in the morning before I have my cup. None of it's worth it to me. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? But if ever there was a simple coffee machine that a robot could run and they could make me my espresso in the morning, I would pay a lot of money for that. A lot of money. And I'm going to get it. So we're waiting for that coffee machine to happen. So there you go. We're waiting for it. Good vibes. Good morning and good days, Abba BTC. Yum, yum. Yeah, we're happy with it. So there you go. Assalamu alaikum, sun and all. You reminded me, the sun is up. Isn't it amazing? We had another one of these ones where the sun is coming. See, it's moving past the tower already. It's amazing how much it moves in a day. You don't realize it. I've been like sun scoping and moon scoping. That's been one of my big things since really COVID. It started at the Satoshi Roundtable in Mexico in late January 2020. So people have listened to the story a few times. My COVID run around the world, getting chased out of countries because everywhere I went had COVID. I went to Barcelona. It was the first case there. But I had already had COVID in January in New York. That's why I even knew I could go to Mexico. And I was in Mexico with a bunch of Chinese, basically refugees. You know, the Bitcoin mining, a lot of it is from was from Wuhan, the Chinese element to it. And they were already all living as refugees. They were all in Mexico for that Satoshi Roundtable. If you don't know what Satoshi Roundtable is, it's Bruce Fenton's big show, and it's been going on forever. It just has good vibes because he had it placed at the time when Bitcoiners first made a bit of money in like cycle one in 2014, 2015. So a lot of people have really pleasant memories. It's actually a really good experience, right? There's not much of an agenda, a lot of Bitcoiners hanging out. The 2021 was particularly fun. Anyway, long story short, it happened to happen during a full moon. And that full moon ended up, obviously there's only a full moon every month, but I really started paying attention to moon cycles and sunrises and everything during that lockdown period. It just became something that I did. And I learned a lot. I had no idea about a bunch of this stuff. So now that I'm a sunrise, and that's where I became sort of a sunrise and sunset enjoyer. So anyway, just look at this. Yesterday, it lined up exactly with this thing. So you're already seeing it move. That's a pretty significant move. And it will continue going. It'll move all the way here. We live in a very interesting part of the world here where you can really watch it ebb and flow. So we love it. There you go. There you go. All right. So the sun's up. Right? You can see it shining through. Must be some more of those forest fires because it's really red this morning, but it's not permeating the sky, but that's okay. Our coffee is still here. We saved a sip, so we're going to enjoy it, and then we're going to talk about what's new. So I won't have backup coffee in this show, so you got to stick with me. If I start coughing or something, I might go offline for 1 second. All right. What do we got for Moscow time? What's the funniest Moscow time stuff we got? What is it? What is it? Let's see. Where is it hot? We've only got, because, I don't know if it's not as hot as it was, but you can't find any more of the hot articles. It's hot. It's hot in Greece because they have the fires. So I bet you it's hot, but I haven't heard much about, Greece stories. But this one's good. And it's not funny. We got our beautiful Moscow time graphic. I have to get used to mentioning that. So again, from Tommy, we love it. We love it. Thank you, Tommy. We'll be sending out some prospecti with this today. But where is it hot? Here it is. This is where heat can. This is not funny. Don't laugh. Okay. And when the Europeans are always like, you Americans and your air conditioning. Why are you so obsessed with air conditioning? We're European. We don't need to change our environment. We don't need to manipulate our environment. Okay? We don't need air conditioning. Do you know that more Europeans die from not having air conditioning than Americans die from bullets? Did you know that? Did you know that more Europeans die from not having an air conditioner than Americans die from their gun laws? Do you know that the no air conditioning attitudes in Europe are more deadly than American love of the Second Amendment? And at least with the Second Amendment, you get a gun. And their thing, you don't even get air conditioning. You get nothing. You get to complain about Americans who like air conditioning, and then 47,000 people die in your country. It's not funny, though. If you're laughing, you're not a good person. Okay? So don't laugh at all the Europeans dying of heat because they won't get air conditioning and they think you're a stupid new world person or like a dumb Asian person if you like air conditioning. Okay. So there you go. They got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. They don't have air conditioning. That's fine. Right. No problem, Europe. You go with it. Right. Crypto Truth says it's so hot in Southern California now, right? Great sludge person imitation. I'm not laughing, okay? I'm not. All right, this one's good. This is just an oldie but a goodie. We might not hear from him much anymore because space drops are coming. But, you know, whenever he's in the news, we got to bring him around for Moscow time. Fauci's back. He's got COVID. Fauci got COVID. But he's trying to let us know that even though he's got COVID, he wants to give us the gifts of masks again. So thank you, Fauci. Fauci wants to bring back COVID masks. Thank you, Fauci. We love it. More Fauci until we drop him from space. Fauci, I can't wait to introduce you to Tom Cruise. I can't wait to introduce you. Tom Cruise is dying to meet you. He wants to do an activity with you. One of his major hobbies is jumping from space. He wants to tell you all about it, Fauci. He wants to have a beautiful conversation. We're going to put it on the internet. Everyone's going to watch it. We can't wait. Okay, so this is perfect. This is perfect. We love it. Thank you, Fauci. All right, now this is now that the heat isn't so bad, we have to find a new staple of Moscow time. And I've told you what it was going to be. It was definitely going to be the gaslighting around the political Democrat candidates. So this one's pretty good. The stolen valor thing, you know, I don't know anything about stolen valor. I'm not a soldier. So, but I think it really does bother people who are soldiers, whether they're Democrat or Republican. And but don't worry about it. They're letting us know in the Washington Post. It's no big deal, right? It's not stolen. It's not that he lied about his time going to war, which never happened, right? Waltz and his National Guard. It was a steady rise, ending with a hard decision. It ended with this hard decision. Okay. It's not that he went away, right? It's not that he abandoned and then lied for years about having gone to the deployment. That's not it. No, it was a steady rise and then a hard decision, right? Do I lie or do I not lie? In a military career that spanned 3 decades, Tim Waltz achieved one of the highest enlisted ranks in the Army. Some peers took issue with the timing of his retirement. It was just a timing thing, okay? Don't worry. So that's what we got on Walls, right? This one's good, though. Time magazine, you know, they did this beautiful spread on Kamala, right? Kamala, but she wouldn't sit down for the interview. But this is what we know. She may seem to you might just think she's an overnight sensation, right? But Kamala Harris' moment was years in the making, guys. Come on. Quietly, her small team of top aides had been laying the groundwork for a future presidential run. Quietly. I just want to mention, though, by the way, that in 2018, 2019, I was very consistent. I had been predicting she would be the presidential candidate in the 2020 election from the start. I thought she was going to beat Joe Biden until I heard her actually speak. Once she started her campaign and I realized she was functionally retarded, I abandoned that opinion. But I was willing to go with it for a long time. And then when she became vice president, I said, okay, that was more what I had anticipated. But now that she's the presidential candidate, I say my prediction from 2019 that she was the candidate is correct. So it finally came true. So there you go. So the groundwork, Time Magazine, they could have interviewed me. I could have said, indeed, it's been the groundwork for a future presidential run has been going for a long time. Now, this one's really good. Okay, now this is the gaslighting you're here for. This is the best kind of Kamala Harris gaslighting you're ever going to find. This is from our very own Paul Krugman. Krugman is here. Moscow time is always the best when Paul Krugman's around, right? When Paul Krugman opens his stupid mouth and offers his opinion on the world, you know it's a scam. You know he's lying. Remember the Mike Benz frame. Know who the players are, right? So anytime Paul Krugman opens his dumb mouth, you know it's a fucking lie. You know he's trying to go up your spine and inject things into your the back of your head, like the way NPCs get information downloaded into their brains. He's trying to do that every single time, but he's so terrible and Bitcoiners know it. So it's just awesome. But what he's trying to tell us here is Trump calls Kamala Harris a communist. That shows how worried he is. Now, remember what we know about projection, right? We all know about projection, right? That usually these people are accusing others of what they are themselves, right? So everyone knows how afraid they are of these sludge people, how afraid they are of Trump, right? Do you think Paul Krugman's not afraid of Trump? But this is what we know, right? That Harris's father, of course, was a Marxist professor. Harris has exactly 0. We saw yesterday there was a graph of everyone's private sector experience. Tim Walz and her have none. Neither of them, neither Tim Walz nor Kamala Harris, have had a minute of private sector experience in their careers, in their lives. Not 1 minute. So anyway, we know she's a communist, so that's fine. But it doesn't work. Don't call people communists, by the way. If you call someone a Marxist or whatever, don't even bother. Like, most of the people that you're trying to score points with when you call them those names already believe in that stuff. So if you're in an argument with a libtard and you're like, well, they're a communist, this isn't the 1950s, okay? That's not going to sway anybody. So don't use it. It's a stupid idea. But nevertheless, it's there, right? So that's fine. All right, what else do we got? This is from the UK, all the stuff going on in the UK with the riots, right? There's no excuses, right? The UK riots were violent racism fomented. So by populism. So they're Trump's fault, right? Everyone knows. Come on now. But tell me if it wasn't this stuff, right? These are my favorite ones, right? Okay, so we can confirm that a 17-year-old boy, right, from Banks has been charged with the murders of B.B. King, Elsie Dot Stancombe, and Alice de Silva Aguiar, right? So that fella happened to be from Rwanda. That 17-year-old little boy was from Rwanda. Well, that's pretty good, right? Now, not far away from Merseyside is Humberside. And here, a 15-year-old man, not a 17-year-old Rwandan boy, a 15-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of violent disorder following a demonstration that took place on Saturday, right? So there you go. There you go, right? Boys and men. That's what we love. Boys and men. What else do we got? The Olympics. We still got more stuff from the Australian break dancer. Just the best event we've ever seen in the Olympics. My favorite. Not as good as the boxers, who we'll talk about in a second. Australia's Olympic chief blames sexism for criticism of female breakdancer. I don't know if you saw her breakdance, but it was pretty amazing. It was pretty great. You got to see it. Does all these really cool moves, the jump around. It's really great. So you got to see. She's awesome. But there's more to it, right? It turns out that she also is an academic, right? So she's in academia. She goes to she wrote a PhD because she's Dr. Raygun, right? I read B-Girl Raygun's academic work on colonial structures and breaking. She wrote a PhD on colonial structures in breakdancing, so that gives her a right to be an Olympic breakdancer, okay? And somehow it's worse than her dancing. Australian breakdancer Raygun's performance in Paris was humiliating, but somehow her academic work on colonial structures and breakdancing is worse. I believe it. There you go. So let's go on to the Olympics. Well, I'll get to the Olympics in a second. Oh shit, did I not put the... I did. Okay, so today's whiteboard, taken from a few years ago at the Vermont House. It was snowy, right? There was no global warming back then. It was a long time ago. But what this is trying to show is basically the ability of the fiat distribution models are kind of breaking. We'll talk about them today. And how the Bitcoin P2P information model is not, right? So we have a major advantage. Now, it starts with the story that a lot of people are talking about here, again, with the Olympics. Or maybe I'll change the order here. Yeah, I will change the order. Let's go back to the Stephen Colbert piece. So we'll talk about the Olympics and the boxer in a second, but first let's just talk about the media's ability and how far this stuff is downloading, what the big difference is between 2020, 2016, and 2024 now. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but Stephen Colbert had one of the CNN propagandists on his show, and they were talking about the Elon Musk interview or something like that. And Stephen Colbert says to her, but of course, CNN is objective news and you just say the facts. And the whole audience just started cracking up as if he had like actually said a joke. And he was all flustered. Oh, I don't know what's going on, right? But as everyone knows, it was actually objectively the only funny thing that's been on the show in years. So Dave Portnoy says Stephen Colbert trying to say CNN is objectively funny only to have his own crowd laugh at him is objectively funny. Sorry, yeah, to say to say CNN is objective only to have his own crowd laugh at him is objectively funny. So, and a lot of people like Elon Musk said the people know, people are figuring this out. The whole system is not as capable in uploading its propaganda payload for complete download with the NPC sludge people. The transmission to the sludge people brain is breaking down daily. And the normal transmission models that NPCs receive their new prompts are also not working very well. And we're going to talk about those. So first of all, you can see with the whole Boxer thing, right? You can see with the whole Boxer story, what we see is the J.K. Rowling and now probably Elon Musk are going to get sued, right? They're going to get sued by the Algerian boxer for, what do they call it? Acts of aggravated cyber harassment. Okay, so acts of aggravated cyber harassment. The complaint was filed to French authorities by Caliph's attorney, who says he hopes the prosecution investigates whoever it feels necessary on X. What we're asking is the prosecution investigates not only these people, but whoever it feels necessary. In the case of the court, they will stand trial, attorney Nabil Boudi says to Variety. I know a Nabil Boudi. I wonder if that's my friend. I'm going to look it up. Boudi said the lawsuit could target personalities overseas, adding that the prosecutor's office for combating online hate speech has the possibility to make requests for mutual legal assistance with other countries. So they're going with the whole Thierry Breton method, right? Where Europe is going to tell America what to do. Now, I saw the absolute funniest take on this that you'll ever see. And did I not? How the fuck did I fuck my notes up this bad today? It just makes no fucking sense. Just give me a second here, guys. I've got to add a note because you have to see this one because it's the funniest thing I got. I don't know how these things get screwed up. Just don't know. On the fly, making it. All right. So, what it reminds me of is this is basically what I was trying to say yesterday, right? A Belgian says, so it could be information, whatever. In the end, if you don't understand how encryption works and how having encryption in the hands of individuals versus corporations changes the entire balance of power in the world, you're not really paying attention. Censorship requires decryption or at least encryption breaking capacity. You can't just wish upon a star. You can't just say, oh, you're being mean, stop it. I'm in Europe and you're in America. None of that will work because you're in a digital sphere, you're in a digital plane. And in the digital plane, encryption is boss. So it becomes very difficult to censor or compel anyone to do anything when they have the power of encryption on their hands. So you can boil down everything that Thierry Breton said with his letter to Elon Musk, or you can break down even this, we're going to get France to prosecute an American, right, for online hate speech. Well, in the end, none of that is going to work because of this point of view, right? So Dystopia Breaker here says, a Belgian says you cannot encrypt without sending the plain text to Belgium. So, you know, plain text is obviously it's the normal text. If you encrypt or decrypt, that's what turns it into the encrypted version. And that's what cryptographic keys are doing, right? So they encrypt and decrypt. So plain text is just the normal message, right? So you cannot encrypt without sending the plain text to Belgium. 2, people do not send the plain text to Belgium. 3, what do I do, right? Even in the case where they can legally enforce against EU tech companies. 1, EU tech companies. 2, the US can say no, right? No. Number 3, why would criminals voluntarily send their plain text to Belgium? The whole thing is just insane, top to bottom. No one promoting it knows anything. And indeed, you're just never going to get anything like... it's just never going to happen right now. It could, in the case of maybe Kamala Harris wins and then they prosecute Elon Musk or something like that. Maybe, yeah, it could happen, but nevertheless, this is what we got, right? So it's just impossible. The download the NPCs are looking for here is just not going to work, right? So now, next is just the entire media conglomerate to begin with, right? They're trying to pull this story today where we've got the New York Times saying Hunter Biden did, in fact, seek State Department help when his dad was president, right? So the State Department sent on documents proving Hunter Biden tried to use his father's influence to help Burisma, hiding them throughout the impeachment of 2019 and 2020 as Dems tried to undo the 2016 election and influence the 2020 election. Corrupt beyond belief. So we're going to see more and more of these kinds of stories come out, right? Where the inability for them to even go back on what they said, right? That this is going to be very difficult to smooth over, very difficult to brainwash people in. The sludge people, it's going to happen, but more and more people are going to be those types that just laugh, like the CNN Stephen Colbert story. This is a result of the amount of failures. This is a result of how funny their lies have become. They wouldn't look this way had they not failed so much, but they have failed so much, and they are such a joke. They are so they've become so disrespected, such a punchline, that the only way forward is this way, right? So, but it gets better. It gets better. It's not just Hunter Biden. It's not just CNN, right? We've also got the press corps yesterday, right? Still mad, right? Still mad. So they're talking with the White House yesterday during the press briefing, right? So during Monday's press briefing, the Washington Post's Cleve Woodson Jr. flagged the interview and said, I think so. This is a bootlicking, regime backing journalist, short pants wearing fascist, right? Who says here, I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue, it's an America issue, he says. After making an affirmative statement, Woodson then asked, what role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that or stopping the spread of that or sort of intervening? Imagine speaking like a fucking dumb Valley girl. Imagine, what role does the White House have or the president have in sort of stopping that or stopping the spread of that sort of thing? And that some of that was about campaign misinformation, but you know, it's a wider thing, right? Imagine talking like that. Imagine being such a low IQ flunky from journalism school. You can't even speak English. This is not English. This is dumb children trying to talk. Dumb, uneducated children talk this way. What do you sort of? So imagine putting sort of in every sentence twice. Imagine. And we're supposed to listen to these people, right? It's like we found out Thierry Breton yesterday. He makes something like $20,000 a month. It's enough, but he that's all his income. And then he's got to be a Senegalese citizen. He's also a citizen of Senegal, so that he pays taxes down there. And we're supposed to like this is an expert. Okay, Thierry. All right. So it gets better though. It gets better. There's not just those stories. We've also got the ability of the media to try to coax the algorithmic stuff, right? So this is incredible. We get Sarah Fisher here from Axios saying, trying to justify that the White House has found a scheme to alter and edit Google headlines. They're saying Harris's camp doing nothing wrong, and Google, which is pretty strict about banning spammy ads, doesn't see it as a consumer harm. News outlets just collateral damage in this weird ads tactic. So she's describing here this weird ads tactic, which is that they're more or less editing headlines in ads to spread disinformation. So Bonchi says, yesterday, Sarah Fisher of Axios threw a fit on CNN over disinformation and Elon Musk allowing Trump to say whatever he wants. Today, she's hand-waving away the Kamala Harris campaign editing press headlines and ads to spread disinformation. Incredible, right? So go back to our thing for today, right? Where did it go? There. And you can see the broadcast media, New York Times, right? All of it having trouble, right? All of these normal fiat distribution modes not going well. What else do we got, right? We've also got Hollywood. So we've also got Hollywood. Hollywood having a tough time. So today, you've got I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's amazing. So they put out the Snow White trailer for Disney Snow White with Rachel Zegler. And it's already one of the most downvoted trailers in the history of Disney. It's got millions of views, but it's only got a couple likes, and the dislikes are at Star Wars proportions here. We're getting into the Star Wars world of hatred, right? Because Star Wars doesn't have real fans anymore. It has haters, right? There's no fans. The fans they're long gone. They don't do anything about liking it anymore. There's a couple of sludge people that still watch, but it's not interesting, right? So the ability for Hollywood to continue to propagate its lies and spread its disinformation is getting limited. But here's what happened yesterday. It's hilarious. So Rachel Zegler is doing the Snow White movie. And it did get quite a few views, not as many. It had as many as the last summer's failure with Little Mermaid becoming a live action. So the views are even less than that. So it's not like a majorly viewed thing. But she came out and tweeted, "Thank you for all the views. I'm busy. It's great, right? I have no time to really talk too much about it, but thank you. I'm so honored." But then she does come back and tweet a few minutes later and says, "And of course, free Palestine." Now, you can have that opinion. That's fine, right? But her co-star in the film is someone named Gal Gadot, who is Israeli. So now the evil princess. Now, if you remember the conceit of the Snow White story, it is that the evil princess is angry because Snow White is prettier than her according to the mirror. Okay, remember, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And then the mirror starts telling her, the evil queen, that no, you're not the prettiest anymore. It's Snow White. Okay, so now there's already like the story has this conflict between Snow White and the evil princess or the evil queen, right? So now Snow White is saying to the evil queen, your evil queen thing also applies to the real life Israel. Okay. Now, it's just kind of funny. It's just kind of funny that a lot of people already said, I don't know if you know what she looks like, Rachel Zegler, but I mean, anyone selling you a taco in Southern California is probably as good looking. Like, she's not a famously pretty girl. Okay. She's not. I don't care what people say. She's nowhere near the same beauty level, let's say, as what's her name? She's like 60 years old and still gorgeous now, right? I can't remember her name, but she was in Once Upon a Time in Mexico or something like that. What's her name? She's so famous. She's married to a super rich guy. She's in all these famous movies and stuff like that. Anyway, very pretty. So this Zegler girl is not like, she's nothing to write home about. Gal Gadot, on the other hand, there are many people who say she is the most beautiful woman in the world. She's literally, according to some, the fairest of them all. So now you've got to watch this movie where someone who many people say is the most beautiful woman in the world. Many. And Rachel Zegler, zero. There's no one saying that. Okay. It's just not out there. It's just not out there. Okay. So Salma Hayek, thank you. Yes. That's all I wanted. Salma Hayek. Thank you, Salma Hayek. Yeah, just like absolutely one of the most like a very pretty Spanish-speaking lady. So this has nothing to do with who makes tacos in the world, right? There's very many people from Mexico who are super pretty, and I don't even think she's from Mexico, Rachel Zegler. I don't know where she's from, but no one's going to buy that Gal Gadot is jealous of her beauty. And especially now that she's politicized it to be Israel-Palestine stuff. It's just never going to happen. So again, I'm going to make a prediction. If money was real in the fiat world, Disney would already be out of business. We all know that, right? If money was real, if they actually had to pay attention to the balance sheet and if they had to pay attention to making money and things like that, there would be no more Disney. They even warned, if you want proof that fiat requires propaganda nodes in order to perpetuate, right? Just look at the investor filing that Disney made last year. Bob Iger filed this last year. Bob Iger filed last year that do not expect, if you're a Disney shareholder, do not expect returns, do not expect dividends, do not expect anything like that, because we're not even trying to make money anymore. We are a propaganda outlet. They warned their shareholders last year that this was the case. And now we can see it more than ever, right? They don't care about making money. They don't have to. Wherever they get their money from, it's not from their ticket sales. It's not ticket sales, okay? They lose a shit ton of money on every movie now. They haven't made money on a movie. I guess the one they made money off this summer, it was a big hit, was the Wolverine and the whatever the thing, right? Another comic book thing. But that's it. They don't make money off their movies anymore. And that doesn't make up for what they've lost in others. And that will not make up for the amount of money they lost in the movies coming up, right? None of these are making money. I guess even this thing they had this summer with the Star Wars show, big failure, didn't make any money. But here is the other thing they're up to, just to show you where it's headed and just to show you the kind of anger that's ready to be unleashed on Disney, just to show you how they've treated their customer base and how out of touch they've gotten. So this is in the same days that we're seeing this stuff fight. So it's going to move into the culture thing, right? It's going to be nonstop over there. But here's what we found out. Can you imagine this? Disney has asked a Florida court to dismiss a wrongful death lawsuit earlier this year regarding a woman who passed away due to anaphylaxis after a meal at Disney Springs. So Disney Springs, if you don't know, is like a shopping village inside of Disney World in Florida. Okay. And it's free to, you can just go, and it's like a mini Disney, except everything's for sale and it's really just stores, and it's fine though. It's like a cool place to visit. And it's a bunch, you can shop everywhere. It's like an outdoor shopping mall with restaurants everywhere and stuff. And it's just like across the water from all the different resorts. Disney Magical Kingdom and all that is right there. So so this is just a random person going shopping and going to a shopping area and had a meal and they died. Okay, and now it's gone into trials in courts. And the Disney is defending itself with this. In the latest update for Disney Springs wrongful death lawsuit, Disney cited the legal language with the terms and conditions for their app, Disney Plus. So what they're saying is if you happen upon a Disney restaurant in a free, open to the public store, but you also have the Disney app to watch our movies, inside the app, you actually waived away your legal rights to sue them for whatever they did to you. So they're trying to argue here. They might win. Within the terms and conditions for Disney Plus, which requires users to arbitrate all disputes with the company. So what they're saying is, if we kill you on our parks, you actually are not allowed to go to courts. You have to go into arbitration with us. And that's the end of it. Disney claims Piccolo reportedly agreed to this in 2019 when signing up for a 1-month free trial of the streaming service on their PlayStation console. So they're saying he didn't even get a normal subscription. He got a 1-month trial. And they're saying here that, no, you waived your rights, bro. You're done. You're fucking dead. And you don't have rights because you got a free trial of our app. So there you go. It's not going to work out for them. It's not going to work out for them. And, there's a bunch of other cases like this, and it's what's going on. But that's what we got. So let me see if I got all my news stories here. Oh, yeah. One more before we continue on. So just to show you the failures, I'll go back to the thing, right? So we've got the broadcast, Hollywood, not going to make it. New York Times, not going to make it, right? But here, let's go into social media for a second. And this one's really fun, right? So yesterday, Joe Biden tried his Charlottesville thing again, right? And he actually tweeted it out. He tweeted out a Charlottesville hoax video. He came out and said, this week marks events 7 years since the white supremacists gathered in Charlottesville, spatting sick anti-Semitic bile. Trump said there were very fine people on both sides. Democracy is at stake. We will not let him win again. But everyone knows the very fine people hoax has been debunked, right? Now, he's been saying this all week. He's been saying it all week. And if you go into the comments and if you go anywhere else, now the sludge people are going to continue to fall for it because they're so stupid and brainwashed, but they don't know they're brainwashed, and the whole deal. But they're getting less and less. It's like what you saw with the Stephen Colbert thing yesterday. the traction and the ability to brainwash is just getting more and more limited. It's becoming more difficult for them to pursue these aims, and the connection. That's why I use the sort of not downloading. Remember that in the old days when you downloaded stuff and it would say no, no, right? When it would try to show you slow downloads. So that's what's going on here, right? Now, here's where things get great, and why we're going to win, and why one of the main predictions I made about Bitcoin becoming center stage in 2024 has not actually been realized yet. Now, Bitcoin is center stage, but there's one more part of the story that I mentioned that I've been saying for 2-3 years now, right? And we've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years. The financial part's all important, right? No one doubts that the 21 million meme and Bitcoin separating money and state is important, and all of these things are vital, right? I've never wavered on that. These are happening now. We're getting it. Trump is getting it. The energy literacy piece is there. It's all happening like we said. But there was one other piece to the puzzle where Bitcoiners can really shine, and it's part of this P2P information spread, and it's part of our role in the 2024 election. It's part of what we have to do in America, and it's part of what we are doing in America, and that is the voting stuff, right? That's the voting stuff. Because as we know, the most important meme we can spread to upgrade the sludge people's worldview is don't trust, verify. It's the most important thing we can do. There's nothing more important than Bitcoiners spreading that. It actually does lead to the separation of money and state. It does lead to the hyper-Bitcoinization. Hyper-Bitcoinization actually goes through the corrupt voting system, because the corrupt voting system is the predicate for the corrupt money system. All of this is paid for. All of those things were paid for because of the corrupt money system. The news, Disney, all of that. That's paid for by the corrupt money system. And the corrupt money system is possible because of the corrupt election system. So we have to fix the election system. Whether we do or don't, it doesn't really matter in the end. We all understand that, right? We're going to be fine with Kamala or any of these people. We're going to be okay. Now, Kamala is going to have to run in this election. It looks like Cernovich made that prediction with the Tim Walz going completely to shit and losing all of his capacity to campaign and do all these things, right? He's pretty cooked. What did Cernovich say about it? Let me just get you the Cernovich quote that was supposed to be in my notes. Fuck. Here we go. So he says, in 2020, Joe Biden gave voters plausible deniability. I'm voting for decency. Tim Walz was supposed to play that role in 2024. It's why he was speaking more than Kamala herself. He doesn't even have a platform. She doesn't even have a platform. Stolen valor neutralizes Walz and makes Kamala have to run. And he goes on to say, maybe Kamala can win on her own. It's not even September. Democrats have billions of dollars to launder via Ukrainian oligarchs. Victory is far from certain, but you have no plausible deniability. You're voting for full-term abortions, World War III, and communism if you go with Kamala. And indeed, the choice is getting very clear. Not only that, if you vote for Kamala, you're going to have to ignore that we are running into the elections without any credible election system. This is not a credible election. Imagine, you think you come across mistakes in the system right here. A nation's best hackers found vulnerabilities in voting machines, but no time to fix them. Okay, so we're just going to go into the elections with a system we know is broken, right? So this is where Bitcoiners have the opportunity. Without arguing politics, this has nothing to do with politics. We don't need to argue policies. We don't need to say Kamala is good, stolen valor, she lied, blah, blah, blah. She's a hypocrite. None of that matters. None of that matters. I saw everyone yesterday. Keir Starmer in 2013 said, this was his speech, too many Twitter prosecutions could damage free speech. And people are like, why isn't he still like that now that he's the prime minister? They're all hypocrites. You're a hypocrite and I'm a hypocrite. That's why hypocrisy doesn't work when you point it out. Everyone can be a hypocrite at one point or another. It just doesn't matter. It's not persuasive. It's just not persuasive, right? I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying you can't point it out. I'm not trying to stop you from pointing out. I'm trying to tell you it's a waste of your time. It doesn't work, okay? It doesn't persuade NPC sludge people at all. They don't care. You could say it all day long. It just won't work. What you need to do is try to get them to understand that we don't have anything like elections. And the way you can prove it is ways like this, right? You can prove it by don't trust verify, that there isn't auditability of the system, that there is nothing like that, right? Is our reality. And that's the thing we need to do to upgrade American thought and American worldview. If we're successful at doing that, if we're successful at getting a crowd to laugh at elections for being incredulous, the same way they laughed at Stephen Colbert for pushing CNN as objective, we win. We win. That's it. That's it. That's all we have to do. And if that happens, you are entering hyper-Bitcoinization. Hyper-Bitcoinization is just spreading the don't trust verify meme through the American worldview during the 2024 election. If and when that happens, I believe it's going to happen, it's over. The dollar will never recover. The ability for the government to print money to pay for its brainwashing exercises, to have this fake free press, to have Hollywood work the way it does will all go away. It won't be able to pay for it. And once they can't pay for it, you're going to have good art and entertainment again. You're going to have an interesting Snow White story again, not Rachel Zegler and these idiots. So we're almost there. We're almost there. What a great use case for having an app. Legal immunity for everything. Yeah, isn't it hilarious? It was just at Disney Springs. Disney has lost its magic fairy dust. Truly has gone downhill. Yeah. It's I'm glad I made it to Disney with my kids when they were just the right age, 3 and 2, I guess. But it was just after COVID, so there was limited people allowed, and so there was no lines for anything, and it was in really good shape because it had been closed for whatever months, and I'll probably never go back. So it was awesome. And by the way, Epcot is amazing. I mean, anyone who complains about Epcot is not aware of how cool it is. It's just one of the greatest places in the world. I'd go back to Epcot. I really would. We need a Twitter trend. Don't trust, verify elections. That's good. I like that. It's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're getting there. What's up with grown-ass women being obsessed with Disney, though? Yeah, I mean, you want to live in a world where the content is worthy enough for grown-ass women to be obsessed. And I think we were there at one point. I've never been a Disney fan, though, to be honest with you. I did not buy that shit when I was a kid. I was way more into Star Wars because they didn't own it back then. And, it was great. Gal Gadot was on it. No kidding. Yeah. So my wife kind of looks like Gal Gadot. And she, when the toys came out, I got them for my children for her Wonder Woman toys, and my kids used to call them Mama Toy. And that in the summer of 2020 with Wonder Woman, she was also on a bunch of Doritos chips, and the kids were always like, "Why is Mama on the chips?" It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, my wife is half Japanese and half Ukrainian, so it creates a pretty interesting mix that looks a lot like I don't know, what I used to say is the kids Alexander the Great left behind in Iran, which can kind of look like an Israeli. So there you go. All right, team, that's all I got for today. It was a short one. We got some family tending to do. I shall see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. I'm out of coffee. I need another. So there you go. All right, everyone. And indeed, we got to get this one. Definitely trending. Don't trust, verify. Looks a little too much like DMV though. I feel like I got to drive. That just could be on my mind. Oh yeah, you want an update on my driver's license scams? It's pretty good. So a week ago, if you remember, I went to Vermont to get stuff cleared up. I don't know if I could. I got a new license plate. I got that far. It turns out that everything I filed for license plate 2 years ago. So it's more just like enforcing my scammy license stuff. So I go down with obviously, and I crossed, they don't check at the border. So I crossed the border with no driver's license, nothing, right? I just crossed the border. I'm on my way because I was coming from Montreal that morning. And I get to the Newport DMV. So it's one of the first towns. And they go to look up my license and they say, we have no record of you existing, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? I've had a license plate for 2 years. So it turns out they gave me a license plate 2 years ago, but they forgot to file. They found them, because it's Vermont. There's nobody in Vermont. There's like 600,000 people in the whole state. So they literally call up Montpelier, which is our capital city. They find the documents within like an hour in the basement or something. Like, oh, you really did pay all this and sign up and all that. We never filed it because I never got like follow-up registration papers. I still just had the original registration with like my handwriting on it and stuff. And they're like, well, we got to give you brand new plates because it's like you haven't even had a license plate for 2 years. And I was like, so I've been driving, even though I thought I had the plates, I've been driving basically without plates for 2 years. And the guy's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess it doesn't really matter. And then it turns out with my license, so I never bothered going to New York that day. I just said, that's not even going to work. It was just too much work for me. So I called them, and this was a few weeks ago when I thought I was going to New York to get the driver's license fixed. They said, okay, we understand. The reason I got my license suspended was that when I got the Vermont plates, I never sent my New York driver's plates back to New York State. You have to. And if you don't, but you also cancel your insurance, they think you still have New York plates, but now you're driving without insurance. So every day you do that, there's a fine. And I had like $1 million fine at the end of this. It's like $30 a day for 3 years or something stupid, or 2 years and a bit. So I was like, well, I'm not paying that. Like, get out of here. I had insurance the whole time. And they said, well, if you fax us your proof of insurance, so I faxed them the cards, I faxed them the cards. I faxed them the fake registration that never happened with Vermont. And then they deny it for some reason. But then they say, don't worry about it. Your suspension is up on September 15th, no matter what. You don't have to pay the fine and you can just get your new license. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So we have a driver's license plate now, a license plate for the car. We still don't have a driver's license, but I'm going to go with my scammy story. If the police stop, well, I didn't know that my dad died or something like that. And we'll see how we do. But I'm waiting to September 15th. I'm not doing shit again. I just drive really slow now, right? I drive like 65 on the button and I'll never get stopped. It's fine. I got insurance. We're okay. We're doing fine. Yeah, it's a complete ripoff. It's designed to be a scam. It's New York scamming you. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to know? I didn't know I had to return my license plates. Who knew that? Like, I have them in my barn where I have all the like any normal red-blooded American. You put your things up on your barn if you have license plates. Like, I've got a Quebec and Ontario, New York, Florida, Vermont, right? Who doesn't collect license plates? Come on. I still don't have a driver's license in a car and I'm old. Yeah, but you're in New York, man. No one has. Very similar I didn't have a driver's license until I was in my late 20s. Montrealers and New York City people are the same. We just don't get driver's licenses. If you're in the city, it's stupid to have one. So, because the subway goes everywhere and it's convenient and it's a walkable city and all that. So I indeed took a long time to get a driver's license. Well, now in the country, I drove illegally. So I'm used to this no driver's license thing. My whole teenage years, 20s, my girlfriend, who's my wife, had a car, but I used to drive it all the time without a license. I'd go pick her up. I'd go do all that kind of stuff, right? I drive everywhere. It's just, that's the way it is, right? That's the way it is. Yeah, we don't, Montrealers and New York City people are regularly don't get them. All right, everyone. Peace. Coffee time.